Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a strange, heavy feeling in your stomach? Everything seemed fine on the surface, they smiled, they nodded, and they said all the right things. Yet, your intuition was screaming that something was deeply wrong. In our social world, we like to believe that if someone dislikes us, it will be obvious. But decades of research in nonverbal communication suggest a much different story. Humans are evolutionary masters of social masking, the conscious or subconscious practice of hiding true emotions to maintain harmony, avoid conflict, or protect status. But hiding genuine emotion takes an immense amount of cognitive effort. The pioneering psychologist Paul Ekman demonstrated that when people try to conceal intense feelings, their true emotions can break through the mask in a fraction of a second. He called this phenomenon emotional leakage, the involuntary venting of genuine feelings through nonverbal channels. Perhaps the greatest deception in human relationships isn't that people hide their emotions. It's that we spend our entire lives believing words over behavior. The human brain is constantly scanning for these hidden friction points. Long before your conscious mind registers a problem, your subconscious is already picking up on subtle, mismatched signals. This is a dive into the nuanced psychology of everyday interactions, decoding 7 subtle behavioral patterns that peer-reviewed studies associate with hidden social distance. Imagine you are standing in a busy break room, sharing an update on a project you are excited about. Your colleague turns his head toward you, nods, and asks all the right questions. On the surface, the interaction is perfectly pleasant. But as the conversation goes on, you look down and notice something strange. While his face is directed at you, his torso, hips, and feet are pointed completely toward the exit. In the mid-20th century, sociologist Irving Goffman introduced the concept of impression management, the idea that we actively stage manage our behavior to control how others perceive us. We know people watch our faces, so we force our eyes and mouths to look engaged. But we completely forget to regulate our lower bodies. Studies in evolutionary psychology suggest that when a person experiences quiet discomfort or a lack of alignment with you, the brain unconsciously prepares the body for departure by aligning toward an escape route. Communication scientists refer to these subtle physical boundaries as spatial micro-rejections. The true indicator isn't a single isolated movement, but a consistent pattern of spatial disalignment that occurs specifically around you, while their body language opens up effortlessly around others. However, we must be careful not to fall into a cognitive trap known as the fundamental attribution error, the tendency to assume someone's behavior is entirely due to their feelings toward us, while completely ignoring the situation. A person might angle their body toward the door simply because they are late for a meeting, freezing under an air vent, or dealing with mild social anxiety. The body often tells the truth that the mouth is trying to protect. You cross paths with an acquaintance in a hallway. You offer a warm greeting, and they instantly flash a bright, wide smile, laughing at a casual comment you make. Yet, as you walk away, you feel an unmistakable chill. The interaction felt completely hollow, but if someone asked you to prove it, you wouldn't even know what to say. To understand this empty feeling, we have to look back to the 19th century, when French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne discovered that a genuine smile of joy relies on the coordinated contraction of 2 specific muscle groups, the zygomaticus major, which pulls the corners of the mouth upward, and the orbicularis oculi, which tightly contracts the muscles around the eyes, lifting the cheeks and creating natural crow's feet lines. When someone genuinely enjoys your presence, their brain's limbic system automatically fires both muscle groups. But when someone harbors a hidden aversion and feels forced by social politeness to appear friendly, their smile originates from the motor cortex, which handles voluntary movements. The motor cortex can easily command the mouth to smile, but it cannot easily mimic the involuntary contraction of the deep eye muscles. When someone forces friendliness despite internal friction, they experience a brief flash of cognitive dissonance. Their brain is trying to display warmth while experiencing internal discomfort, leaving the eyes completely unengaged. A mouth-only smile is often a polite shield used to keep you at a distance. But as we look closer at the face, the eyes reveal an even deeper neurological struggle, one that your subconscious notices long before your conscious mind does. A forced smile is a beautiful courtesy, but it is ultimately an act of performance, not connection. You are at a dinner table, telling a story you spent hours preparing. Everyone around the table is looking at you, completely locked in, except for one person. They are looking in your direction, but their eyes blink at an unusually high rate, or their gaze rhythmically glances over your shoulder, constantly scanning the room instead of resting on your face. In communication science, eye contact is recognized as our most primitive tool for establishing psychological safety, triggering the release of oxytocin, a hormone essential for human bonding. However, research in visual psychology suggests that processing a stimulus we find uncomfortable requires a high degree of cognitive effort. When someone experiences a quiet dislike or social discomfort, empirical evidence shows they often struggle with what scientists call visual aversion. One possible explanation is that the brain unconsciously creates psychological distance by minimizing sensory input. This can manifest as an increased blink rate, which acts as a literal, microscopic physical barrier, or as a fragmented, asymmetrical gaze pattern. Instead of the natural, relaxed triangle pattern our eyes trace around a friend's face, their gaze becomes rigid and brief. Many people misunderstand eye contact, assuming that if someone looks you straight in the eye, they must be comfortable with you. In reality, individuals who are highly conscious of their own hidden negative feelings will often overcompensate. Driven by what social psychologists call evaluation apprehension, they force an intense, unblinking glare to prove they are paying attention. We look at what we desire, but we ration our sight for what we merely tolerate. Think about a time you walked up to a colleague with genuine enthusiasm, saying, "It's so great to see you." They turned around and repeated the exact same words, "It's great to see you too." Yet, the words felt like they were read from a script. The sentence was perfectly flat, completely lacking any rhythmic variation, warmth, or natural upward shift in pitch. In linguistics and communication science, the melody, tone, and pacing of our speech is known as prosody. Prosody is an incredibly accurate window into our subconscious mind because it is directly regulated by the autonomic nervous system. When we are around people we genuinely like and feel safe with, our nervous system enters a state of social engagement, causing our vocal cords to relax and our pitch to modulate fluidly. Furthermore, human brains are naturally wired for emotional contagion, an involuntary neurological mechanism where we synchronize our emotional states and vocal energy with the people we value. If you speak with warmth, a person who feels a genuine connection to you will unconsciously echo that warmth. But when hidden friction is present, the muscles around the vocal cords tighten, causing the voice to lose its melody and sound monotone. We often miss this sign because our conscious minds focus entirely on the literal meaning of the words. Be careful, however, not to judge this behavior too quickly. A flat, monotone voice can also be a primary indicator of chronic stress, severe physical exhaustion, depression, or neurodivergence. Always evaluate vocal flatness against a person's baseline behavior to see if it occurs exclusively around you. People don't always reveal how they feel with words. More often, they reveal it with the effort it takes to hide those feelings. You are sitting across a table from someone at lunch. You lean forward to emphasize a point, they immediately lean back and cross their arms. You pick up your water glass to take a sip, they instantly look away and adjust their laptop. No matter how much you try to find a rhythm, every single physical movement feels completely clunky and out of step. One of the most profound insights in modern cognitive psychology involves our neurological capacity for social harmony. When two individuals are in deep psychological alignment, their brains engage in involuntary behavioral synchronization, often referred to as postural echoing. They unconsciously mirror each other's postures, gestures, speaking speeds, and physical rhythms, creating an invisible bubble of mutual safety. But when someone secretly dislikes you or feels an underlying social aversion, this automatic mechanism breaks down. One possible explanation is that the brain unconsciously creates psychological distance, resulting in what behavioral scientists call interactional desynchrony. Rather than matching your energy, their movements shift out of alignment to establish boundaries. If you use warm, casual language, they might respond with rigid, formal phrasing. Society has conditioned us to believe that people only mirror each other when they are consciously trying to flatter someone. The truth is, genuine mirroring is completely involuntary. When it is entirely missing over a long interaction, peer-reviewed studies show it is a strong indicator that the invisible bridge of social reciprocity has broken down, shaping the very structure of the conversations you have. True connection is a dance of shared rhythms. When someone refuses to mirror you, they are quietly stepping off the dance floor. You ask a colleague an open-ended, engaging question about their weekend, saying, "How did the big project go? I heard the team put a ton of hours into it." A normal, socially engaged response would naturally offer a few details. Instead, they look up, offer a brief, "It went fine," and immediately turn back to their keyboard. This behavior is a subtle form of conversational stonewalling. To understand why it happens, we have to look back at the concept of cognitive load, the total amount of mental effort being used in working memory. Engaging in a fluid, open conversation demands a significant expenditure of mental energy. You have to actively listen, process information, formulate thoughts, and offer emotional feedback. When someone harbors a hidden dislike for you, their brain may categorize any interaction with you as an unnecessary drain on its limited mental resources. To protect its energy, the brain adopts a strategy of minimalist linguistic conservation. They provide the absolute bare minimum required to remain socially polite, while intentionally cutting off any linguistic paths that could expand the conversation, using short, closed answers to shut down the verbal loop as quickly as possible. We often misunderstand this sign by assuming the person is simply an introvert or quiet by nature. But personality psychology shows that an introverted person will still give meaningful, thoughtful answers to people they trust and value. If someone is witty, verbose, and engaging with everyone else in the office, but selectively shifts into a minimalist script only with you, they are using language as a protective social wall. Silence can be a profound tool for reflection, but brief, forced words are often a tool for rejection. You are sharing an idea or telling a light-hearted story in a group setting. You mention a minor detail in passing, saying, "Yeah, we started working on that marketing campaign about 3 weeks ago." A colleague immediately interrupts the flow of the story to say, "Actually, it was 4 weeks ago." The correction has absolutely zero impact on the actual point of your story, yet they felt an urgent need to call it out publicly. This behavior is driven by a psychological mechanism known as the negativity bias, combined with social comparison theory. When we genuinely like and trust someone, our brains operate on an automatic bias of charity. We overlook small errors, mispronunciations, or minor factual mistakes because we prioritize the emotional bond and the overall flow of the conversation. However, studies in social psychology have repeatedly found that when someone harbors a hidden aversion, their internal filter shifts. Because they experience an underlying irritation or frustration toward you, their subconscious mind actively scans for flaws. Your minor mistakes stand out to them like bright neon lights. Since social etiquette prevents them from openly showing their dislike, their brain looks for safe, socially acceptable outlets to release that internal tension. Microcorrections over meaningless details are the perfect tool for passive friction. It allows them to subtly undermine your authority in front of others, all while hiding behind the safe excuse of just wanting to make sure the facts are accurate. When the foundation of respect is missing, the smallest mistake becomes an opportunity for judgment. Human behavior is incredibly complex, layered, and deeply dependent on context. The goal of understanding social psychology and nonverbal communication isn't to walk through life with a hypervigilant eye, becoming deeply suspicious of every forced smile, turned foot, or brief response. If we look at the world through a lens of paranoia, our minds will fall victim to confirmation bias. We will start inventing signs of dislike where they don't even exist. The true goal of emotional intelligence is not to catch people out, but to navigate our relationships with deeper wisdom, genuine empathy, and clarity. When you learn to read these hidden signals, you gain the power to adjust your approach, respect people's boundaries, invest your energy in relationships that are truly reciprocal, and protect your own peace of mind. True social intelligence is quiet. It observes, it understands, and it moves forward with grace. The people who truly understand human nature aren't the ones who judge quickly. They're the ones who notice quietly. If understanding people changes the way you see the world, subscribe. Because in our next documentary, we'll explore why your own mind can become your greatest enemy, the psychology of overthinking.